It's Grant who's got the goal from the free kick, and we're heading for extra time now, surely.
Domingo! It is 2-0, and that now surely seals the K-League title for John Buckland Motors.
You're listening to the K-League United podcast, proud partner of Football Nation Radio.
Hello, annyeonghaseyo. Welcome to this World Cup edition of the K-League United podcast. Matthew Binns here. It's the day after the night before here in Korea, after Korea's loss to Ghana. But we're going to be talking a little bit more in detail about that with our guest today. First of all, I am joined from the other side of the Han River. It's Steve Price. Good to have you back, Steve.
Yeah, how's it going? Having a good one?
Other than Korea's result, yes, it's not been going too bad so far. I'm also joined now by who is becoming quickly our regular co-host, Michael. Michael, how is it going in the Harangi hideout?
Well, as you can see, the Harangi hideout is starting to slowly turn into the Leopard's Den over search results. But, you know, that's not my doing, unfortunately. That's what we've seen and witnessed over this last week in the World Cup. So here we are.
You've torn the shirts down in disgust. Oh.
Torn down or not done with laundry, whichever one you want to choose is the right one.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, as we've very, very unsubtly alluded to there, Korea did lose to Ghana 3-2. We'll be giving our reaction to that later before previewing a must-win clash with Portugal later on this week. But first, let's talk about the World Cup a little bit overall. We've had 2 rounds of matches now from all the sides. How's this World Cup rating to previous iterations in your lifetime, we should say? I'm going to ask Steve, how's this one going for you at the moment?
Yeah, it's been pretty unpredictable. I find like it's been some teams, they'll go and get a great result, and then the next game they'll do badly, or the other way around, they'll have an awful result, and then they seem to win the next game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a bit of a surprise. You know, we saw England, of course, stuff Iran and then not turn up basically against the USA. Saw Japan get a win against Germany, and then like everybody was praising their manager Moriyasu, and then next game he decides to just shoot himself in the foot and play some crazy tactics and lose to Costa Rica. And that's been going on throughout the whole tournament. It's been really strange.
Yeah, there've been some absolute belters and some eyebrow raisers as well in here. Michael, how's this World Cup going for you at the moment? Are you enjoying it compared to previous iterations?
Yeah, I am enjoying it. It seems like a bit of a World Cup where you don't know, apart from the real firm favourites, you don't know which way a game can go. Obviously, last night before the Korea game, I was watching the Cameroon-Serbia game, and, you know, it ended 3-3. I think Cameroon went 1-0 up, and they had a chance to go 2-0 up, and they went to 3-1 to Serbia, and then they managed to pull it back again to 3-3. I think like the theme of this World Cup so far has been teams you've not expected to get results and grind results out have managed to do so. Obviously, we're famously looking at Saudi Arabia and Japan here for their wins against Argentina and Brazil, respectively. And I think it's a bit of an unpredictable World Cup, and we might say that every single World Cup, but this one truly is. Teams are going to get out the group stage, which we generally had no idea would.
Indeed. And, well, you said about results not expected. Perhaps we should have expected the result last night, or perhaps we shouldn't. I don't know. It's always difficult to tell with Korea in World Cups. But, yeah, we are today in this pod, we're going to mull over the remains of last night's match before then going on to look at Portugal and giving our thoughts on how things may play out there. But first, yes, Korea to Ghana 3. An entertaining match for a neutral, certainly. Perhaps not as entertaining if you're watching it with something invested as we certainly were. Steve, can you kind of talk us through what happened in this match, just to give our listeners who may have missed it a bit of an outline?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a neutral, I think Korea would have earned a lot of neutrals as like new fans after watching that match, because they played really, really well. but it didn't really work out. There was some amusing comments. I saw on Twitter somebody saying Korea were playing like prime Barcelona, and then went and let in 2 stupid goals. I think maybe that's pushing it a bit, but it kind of sums up like how they were doing at the start. They had all of the possession and they were getting chance after chance, but just their crossing was just not good enough, and they just couldn't get like that on the end of those crosses, despite having all the possession in the Ghana area. Come down the other end, Ghana had 3 shots on goal, all went in, pretty much. And Korea they had, I think, 21 shots on goal in total, 15 of those inside the penalty area, and still only managed the 2 goals.
Indeed. There was a stat going around as well about how long it was taking for Korea to get a shot on target, and we went through that first half still without a shot on target. Korea found themselves 2-0 down despite the dominance, like you said, at the start of the match. They had like 7 corners in the first 20 minutes or something ridiculous. They were pressing to try and get that early goal. Caught by a couple of defensive lapses, it should be said. A free kick in for the first one, converted by Mohamed Salisu. And, well, yeah, a bit of a question marks over the defence and what they were doing. Goalkeeper David Priest's took it and actually highlighted on his Twitter, mentioning about how deep the Korea defensive line was and not giving Kim Sung-kyu any space really to attack it. Then Mohamed Kudus, he doubled the lead just after the half-hour mark. Another defensive lap there. It was Kim Min-jae who actually played Kudus on side, but it wasn't actually necessarily Kim Min-jae who was at fault for this one. I think Kudus lost his marker in Kim Yong-gwan, and yeah, 2-0 down, but yes, we finally got a shot on target in that second half. Yeah, Michael, who was the recipient?
Well, I think we might hear his name a few more times after what happened. It was Cho Gi-sung, someone who we've mentioned quite a bit leading up to the game. He managed to score the goal to bring it 2-1, and then only 3-4 minutes later, he managed to equalise as well. But one of the points to make about that first goal, it was a cross from Lee Gang-in, who literally was one of his first touches on the pitch. And that's another talking point we spoke about many times about, will Lee Gang-in start, will he play? He came onto the pitch at the 57th minute and Korea scored in the 58th due to one of his crosses. So it was interesting to see that Cho Gi-sung got a brace to bring it back to 2-2.
Yeah, Cho Gi-sung, top goal scorer in the K-League, top goal scorer for Korea at the moment. But the celebrations weren't really to last. They only lasted about 7 minutes, to be honest, with Kudus getting his second of the match as well on the 68th minute. Another slight defensive lapse. And then after that, as you said, Steve, it was all Korea.
Right, it's just a bombardment, wasn't it? And I think they were creating better chances at that point as well. They were testing the goalkeeper. They're having shots like knocked off the line or like going around the 6-yard box and things like that. So, yeah, their quality kind of improved. I think a bit of that is because the quality of the crosses by Kim Moon-hwan and Kim Jin-soo wasn't that great all game. I know Kim Jin-soo to get the assist for that second goal, but just generally, given the number of crosses, it wasn't really good enough. But then Lee Gang-in's kind of crossing ability is a bit better. And so the deliveries coming into the box were that little step up, and I think that kind of made a bit of a difference there. And yeah, you're just kind of thinking, when's it going to go in? And it just wouldn't go in the goal.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned on Twitter, how were all the opportunities? They were creating so many opportunities, but they all seem to be finding Kim Jin-soo. I was like, find anybody else. He doesn't score that many for Jeonbuk. I like him. I'm a big supporter of Kim Jin-soo. Maybe he didn't have the best of games in terms of that, but how are all the opportunities falling to the left back?
Yeah, there were a few times as well when it would get into the box and you just like take a shot on your first touch, but the players would try and take that extra touch and then get closed down. And if they had have taken that risk, and maybe Son Heung-min was guilty of this as well, take the shot on your weaker foot. And you know, he's going to work the goalkeeper, but he wants to get it onto his other foot, and then the chance is gone because there's a defender in the way.
Indeed. You mentioned crosses there as well. Just looking at the actual stats from this, it should be mentioned Korea had 46 crosses in that match, yet only 16 of them actually found a target. So yeah, a lot of wayward crosses for that match there. A lot of attempts to get it into the box, and also a lot of corners in, including one corner at the end which wasn't given. Steve, what happened at the full-time whistle?
Right. Well, I mean, they had so many corners that didn't get anywhere.
Yeah.
You wonder if they have one more, would that make any difference? So there were 10 minutes added on time, which the added on time has been done a little bit differently in this World Cup. And in the past, you see lots of times when you have all that time and the ref will blow the whistle straight away at the end of the 10 minutes. They're kind of not really doing that as much. They're kind of giving extra time if there's like a goal scored in the injury time, particularly for celebrations. And a lot of Korean fans are wanting extra time for the kind of injuries that some of the Ghana players had, maybe time wasting, maybe injuries. When I sort of board get to 10, I thought there's probably about 2 minutes left, personally. The ref blew up just under 1 minute after that, so with about 11 minutes in total. And refs don't have to give a corner if it goes out for a corner. If that's the time when they should blow, then they do blow at that time. It's kind of a bit of a myth that you should give the corner. The question is whether that's the point in time where the ref should blow it or not. And I think a lot of Korean fans don't think it is, but I'm sure a lot of Ghana fans probably think they should have blown it 30 seconds earlier.
Yeah, a lot of balanced and nuanced opinion about the officials.
Bit of fruity language last night was maybe
a little bit more nuanced than whatever Paolo Bento said. Anyway,
certainly so. Yeah, Anthony Taylor felt the wrath of Paolo Bento, and Paolo Bento did see red. Both in terms of anger and the card he was shown, which does mean he is going to actually miss this match against his home country of Portugal, which there is a bit of irony there because his last match as a national team player for Portugal was against Korea in the World Cup in 2002. Korea knocked Portugal out in that match. It could have been could have also been could possibly Paolo Bento's last match in charge of Korea. If things don't go his way, it depends if he wants a new challenge after this. But yeah, so anyway, well, we'll see. We'll talk more about that later. But we've talked a lot there about the good, the bad. Let's delve in a little bit more. What worked? What worked for you? And I'm going to hand this one to Michael first. Michael, what worked for you in this match?
I think it's something that Steve touched on, really. Like the first 20 minutes of the first half, and certainly the first 20 of the second half before the goal went in, the third goal went in, they seemed to be just like playing pressing football and attacking. It was a side of Korea that people wanted to see. You maybe saw a little bit of it in the Uruguay game again. They missed the chances, but they were taking chances. They were crossing balls in, and obviously the crosses weren't exceptional, but they were trying to get the ball into a dangerous position to try and shoot and score from. So I think it's the fact that they were actually trying to literally get the ball to someone who could be able to score a goal. Did they do it well? So, but they were crossing balls and trying to create chances.
It's certainly an attacking display. That was for sure. It's definitely far more positive than we've seen Korea deliver at times. Steve, what worked for you in this performance?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Korea in maybe the last two World Cups, definitely, they were awful in those World Cups. To be honest, they weren't very good at all. Maybe the last one, because of the Germany result, people kind of gloss over it a bit. But the performance in the Sweden game, in particular, that one was awful. The World Cup before that was not good. So for a World Cup, this is a massive, massive improvement in terms of the quality of play compared to those two previous World Cups. So it's such a pity that they've only got 1 point to show from it. It's just, I think, that little bit of a lack of quality, but you can see the intent is there, and they're passing the ball around pretty nicely. and getting some good movement. And they're really were kind of going for it, which is what everybody wants to see. It's just they lack that little bit of quality, and they couldn't really get Son Heung-min on the ball much either. And because he's the player who has that quality, and he was he's either double marked or he's marked by, I think, Tariq Lamptey, who's really, really good, really good at that role at Brighton. So it's maybe that's kind of the problem. They just needed a bit extra, and maybe when Lee Kang-in came on, he provided that as well.
Yeah, it was that's a very good point. Yeah, I felt it quite fitting that it was Lee Kang-in who took the ball off Son Heung-min effectively to set up that assist. But yeah, positives, but we can't really gloss over the negatives in this one. And Steve, what do you think Korea probably should be looking at ahead of this game with Portugal? What things went wrong in this match?
Well, I feel the problems. I thought the tactics were fine. Maybe apart from a few of the players who are on the pitch, I think maybe Lee Kang-in should have played a bit earlier. But in general, also he made like a few mistakes. And I think Ghana had quite a good chance because he lost possession as well. So maybe there's a feeling that that's a bit of a risk. And when you're 2-0 down, you take that risk because you've got to play your cards and use his attacking talents. But generally, I thought the tactics were pretty much spot on, and it's just that a bit of a lack of quality, especially in the kind of fullback positions. That's been a problem that Korea have. It's kind of endemic. It's, I think, partly the whole system in Korea and the K-League has not really produced any really top quality players in those two positions for a long time. Maybe also Paulo Benta hasn't experimented enough and tried enough players in those positions over his time in charge of the national team. So it's hard to solve the problems in the space of one game. But hopefully the players who've been injured, Kim Min-jae and Son Heung-min, are going to be that little bit fitter as well. And hopefully that's going to help them against Portugal.
Hopefully. We can only hope, because I don't think we'll be changing fullbacks anytime soon. But yeah, Michael, what didn't work for you in this?
Yeah, it does seem like kind of like a lack of really in defence that caused the goals to happen. That third goal, especially for me, it came at a time when Korea were really kind of like on top, and it looked like Korea were going to get the third goal, but then it went the other end, and then it just, the stability at the back seemed like a bit of an issue, and in doing so, we're talking about a 3-2 loss here rather than a 2-2 or a 3-2 win for Korea. For me, that's the bit that kind of got me, because Korea were playing really well before, literally moments before that goal went in. So composure is also something that you might need to look at as well with Korea, because, as I said, from 2-2, they were on top, and then so.
Yeah, there was a bit of panic that set in, I felt, after that second goal went in. Well, after the first goal went in, even to some extent, but the second goal went in, and it took just about 10 minutes, perhaps, for Korea to recollect themselves and gather themselves. Perhaps the half-time break as well allowed them to regroup and rethink how to approach this match. But yeah, a bit of composure, perhaps a little bit of inexperience shone for some of those players. But overall, there still feels like there are more positives than negatives, but it still feels absolutely gutting at the same time. Let's quickly wrap this up before moving on to the preview, though. Is there a player who's shone? Because there are two players who've particularly taken the limelight from this game. We're probably going to say both of them, but yeah, Steve, who really stood out for you in this game?
Right. Well, I mean, so far in this podcast, we haven't mentioned Hwang In-bom. I thought he's been playing exceptionally in this tournament. And I think he's probably won a lot of admirers. And, Cho Gyu-sung's come in and really made a bit of a difference up top. Hwang Hee-jo has been struggling a bit with his club career over the past 6 months. So I think he wasn't really doing it in that first game against Uruguay. It was good to see Cho Gyu-sung come in and really, I think, get those 2 goals. That's the important thing. That's what he's there to do, and he did it.
Michael, who stood out for you?
Certainly, yes. I want to go with yours, really. I really think Lee Kang-in came in and changed the game. As I said, they were playing well before he came on, but he came on then, and the crosses and chances turned into goals. So I think maybe his influence on the pitch was quite positive for the Korean side. They thought they could go and get more crosses pinpointed to players who needed it, and we saw that. Obviously, as Steve said as well, Hanging Bomb, he had a fantastic game, I believed. So it's interesting to see what happens in this third and final game. Obviously, there's many scenarios which could happen, but you've got to start thinking now, will the players who are on the bench stay on the bench? Will they now start in the lineup? It's big questions to be asked for that Portugal game.
Indeed, big questions to be asked, and big questions we will be asking after the break. Thank you for that segue, Michael. Yeah, we'll be right back after the break to take a deeper look at this Portugal match. Don't go anywhere.
FNR is a revolutionary football-dedicated digital platform, the first of its kind in Australia. It provides a 24/7 live online radio platform experience, podcast hub, and acts as a content provider for TV, radio, and digital. Having reached millions of listeners and football fans since launching, FNR is accessible worldwide via its website or app, providing a platform to discuss, debate, and celebrate the world game. We are your voice of football, FNR Football Nation Radio.
Hello and welcome back to the K-League United podcast. Matthew Binns here, joined by Michael Redmond and Steve Price. Before the break, you heard us give our thoughts on Korea's damaging defeat 3-2 to Ghana. They still have one game left, though. They face Portugal in their final group match. Only a win will do, and perhaps a little bit of help from elsewhere. But yes, Portugal. Steve, how are Korea looking going into this in terms of team news?
Yeah, so all World Cup we've been holding our breath a bit because first of all there was of course Son Heung-min's injury. He's been having to wear a mask, and then just when we got good news from that, Kim Min-jae went and got injured, and both of those players are so key to South Korea. Bento actually said after the Uruguay game that he changed his tactics a little bit for the last 10-20 minutes of that game because of Kim Min-jae's injury, and that meant that Korea had to defend a little bit deeper because he couldn't run properly. So that's how key he is the whole team's tactics changed because of his injury. We're hoping that they're going to be nice and fit. Son Heung-min seems to be getting a lot better in terms of his recovery. He seems to be playing quite fine. Apart from maybe he hasn't given the best performance, but physically he seems fine. And yeah, we're going to be checking all that news as we go on through tomorrow and all the way until the end of the week when the match starts. Apart from that, of course, we've got the big decision about what's going on in the dugout. We've got, I think Sergio is going to come in for Paulo Bento. So they've got to work on that all week and work on their communication. So that's, Paulo Bento being not in the dugout doesn't affect Korea negatively at all. In terms of lineup, I think we're going to see something quite similar with the back seven. I think that's going to be the same. And like he did for the Ghana match, we swapped out all of the forward players apart from Son Heung-min. I think they'll keep Cho Gu-sung, but I think the other two forward players are going to be switched out for two new fresh ones for this Portugal match.
Any chance of Lee Kang-in being one of those fresher players being brought in?
I'd like to see it. I don't think it'll happen.
Yes, well, as you mentioned, there were a couple of defensive mistakes, perhaps. Perhaps he's still considered more of a risk at this point, but hopefully we get to see him in action at some point. One more thing, is there any additional news on Hwang Hee-chan? He was due to sit out the first couple of games. Any update on that have you seen so far?
Right. I mean, they took him to the World Cup, so they must be thinking he's got to be fit for one of these games. But I haven't heard any updates on it at all. He hasn't been spotted really doing much. I think maybe because the focus has been on Son Heung-min and Kim Min-jae. Hopefully he's back, but Korea have so many options in that position, and I think it's fine. Play Lee Kang-in instead. I think that'll be the better choice.
Fair enough. How do you see Korea really approaching this match? Portugal obviously have a few few known talents, it should be said. Do you see them attacking them in the same way Ghana did?
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got to win the match. So South Korea have got to go for it, and they've also kind of, if they win it by 2 goals, that gives them a much better chance of going through because of the kind of goal difference in the other game. I think, yeah, if it's a draw, then a 2-goal win is needed. I'm not sure if that's correct, but that's what I've heard. So really, they've got to go for it from the start and try and get that goal and hope that Portugal are already thinking about their game in the last 16 and maybe trying to avoid getting injured or anything like that.
Perhaps we'll see some rotations for the Portuguese squad. Speaking of the Portuguese squad, Michael, you've currently got a piece out on KLeagueUnited.com at the moment looking at the adversaries. This edition is obviously Portugal. So, Michael, take us through Portugal as an opposition. How did they get here?
So, with Portugal, it was kind of like the same with Ghana, really. They had to do it the hard way. They finished second in their UEFA qualifying group. They ended up 3 points behind Serbia. Now, because of this, they had to go into a playoff for the entry. Now, Portugal, really, they were the best of the rest in this aspect, as they finished first in a table of second-place teams. So in UEFA, first one in the qualifying group stages, first place goes to World Cup. Second place then go into a second table to say who's the better of the second-place teams. And then they seed these teams to seeded and unseeded. Portugal were in Path C, which included Turkey, North Macedonia, and the reigning champions, Italy. Now, everyone had eyes on Portugal versus Chelsea? Where did they get Chelsea from? Portugal versus Turkey. I don't know. Goodness me, it's been a long Tuesday. Portugal versus Turkey and Italy versus North Macedonia. Now, everyone was looking at a Portugal-Italy final there to see who was going to take place in the World Cup. That wasn't to be, however, because Portugal, they did the job. They managed to beat Turkey in their semi-final. However, Italy got beat by North Macedonia in their semi-final. So what happened then is, in the final, Portugal ran out and beat North Macedonia 2-0 to qualify for this World Cup. So it sounded lengthy of me talking it. It was lengthy for Portugal, but here they are now.
Indeed. And for Portugal then, how can we tell us a bit about their playing style?
Yeah, so with Portugal, it kind of says a lot at the moment. Their star player at the moment is kind of Bruno Fernandes in midfield. He's already got 2 goals. He's already got 2 assists, and his play at the moment is kind of showing pass and move, and it's Portugal at this side where seem to be scoring a lot of goals. They scored 3 against Ghana. They scored 2 against Uruguay last night, and it's attacking football. They're just playing attacking football, and if you see who's on the pitch for Portugal, goals are easy to come by. So they're just getting the players in midfield to pass it to these strikers and these forward players, and it's kind of like an attacking style of football that Portugal do play. But as I said, looking at the players in that team, you would expect that.
All right. And who of those players should we be looking out for?
Well, obviously, you'd have to talk about the free agent Cristiano Ronaldo, who does not have a team. He's still, at this moment of point of recording, contesting if he scored a goal or not. It wasn't. It was Bruno Fernandes, Ronaldo. Yes, so Cristiano Ronaldo, you have to have a look at, obviously, Bruno Fernandes, who I think personally has been the best player of the tournament so far. Obviously, you've got players as Pepe as well, who are also in this Portugal side, who obviously he's defender and he's kept a clean sheet yesterday. So it kind of says a lot about his performances. Bernardo Silva as well. These are players.
I was waiting for you to get to the City players. I felt they were peculiarly quite far down your list there. I was like, I'm sure City's got a couple in there.
with gritted teeth, I think Bernardo Silva has also played very, very well for Portugal so far. They just, with the Ghana game, everyone said, right, okay, great, you beat Ghana, you scored 3 goals, but you conceded 2. How are you going to be that lucky against Uruguay? And they proved that they could turn it on when it mattered as well, once again, even keeping a clean sheet. So there was questions about Portugal going into the World Cup, especially with the Ronaldo incident with Manchester United. How are they as a team? Are they going to be working together as a unit, as a side who are, not selfish? And it appears they are working as a unit, and there's no issues in that camp.
Indeed, yeah. Steve, anybody in that Portugal side who's giving you nightmares ahead of this match?
Just their strength in depth, because I think they're going to rotate their team quite a bit in this match to keep them fresh for the knockout phases. And hopefully that means that Bruno Fernandes will take a rest, because he's been their key player, that's for sure. But the more rotation they do, the maybe better it is for Korea. I think maybe Portugal, they've had a bit of luck so far. I mean, they've got 2 penalties in one in each game, and I'm not sure either of them really were penalties, to be honest. So hopefully their luck's going to run out in that respect. Uruguay's match of fine margins, that one. They hit the posts when it was 1-0 as well. And if that had gone in, it could have been a totally different game.
Indeed. Well, there is some news out the Portugal camp, and that is Danilo Pereira looks set to miss the. He's missed one already. He's going to probably miss this one as well. He's actually fractured some ribs, the Paris Saint-Germain player, so he's definitely out. But I don't know about the rest of the Portuguese squad. We will be having news and updates on our website ahead of this match, and we'll also have a preview out from Branco Balan, so please look out for that on kleagueunited.com. But we are going to give our previews and what we think will happen in this match after a quick break. So don't go anywhere.
Footballogy is a football app like no other. With the handiest tool for football fans on your phone, you can locate any match nearby, no matter where on the planet you are or plan to be. Keep track of all your visited games, collect all kinds of stats, and get badges for achievements like special games and milestone events. The Footballogy app covers more than 80,000 grounds and 1,200 leagues worldwide, including K-League 1 and 2, as well as K3 and K4 and the WK League. Download Footballogy for free today on iPhone or Android. Connect with your friends, and your football life will never be the same again.
Welcome back to the K-League United podcast. Matthew Binns here, and I'm joined by Michael Redmond and Steve Price. And as alluded to over the break, it's time for the Footballogy match of the round. The last 2 matches, we've chose the Education City Stadium for obvious reasons. It's where Korea is based. And, they're going to be playing there again for this match. So we're not going to choose it. We're going to choose where the other game in Group H is going on. And we're going to choose Al Janoub Stadium, which is hosting Ghana versus Uruguay, being played at the same time as Korea versus Portugal. The Al Janoub Stadium, it's been the home of the Australian and Cameroon matches in this tournament so far. It holds about 40,000 at the moment, but it is set to be reduced to 20,000 after the World Cup, when it will become host to Qatari Stars League side Al Wakra SC. It's located just 22 kilometers south of Doha for those who are thinking of traveling. And as we've talked about in our previous stadium, it also boasts a cooling system to keep things reasonable temperatures for the people inside. Spectator areas are set to be as cool as 18 degrees and on the pitch to 20. But speaking of temperatures and weather, Michael, how's the weather looking?
Well, to be honest, I was about to sit here and be like, oh, yes, it's once again, the sun's in the sky and it's 30 degrees. But those eagle-eyed viewers watching on TV, quite nippy in the stadiums with that air conditioning. I've seen a few people wearing hoodies. So if you are traveling out there, do prepare for all weathers. I will say that Seoul just took a major dip from -7, -8 tomorrow morning. And don't do long padding in Doha. Just bring something just in case you're a bit chilly. That'd be my advice to you.
Indeed. I saw somebody as well on the TV yesterday. watching the Ghana game, Korean fan in the full hanbok get up, fully enjoying things going on in that match. But yeah, and as well, fans here, they may be taking it in down at spectator areas around the city. The game will be taking place on Korean time, Saturday midnight. So this Friday night, basically. So yes, and this game as well, Ghana vs Uruguay, will obviously be at the same time. At the moment, it would suit Korea better for Uruguay to draw. Steve, I've already forgotten the permutations.
we want at the best result would be a 1-0 win to Uruguay. That means that's if Korea win 1-0, their goal difference is better than Uruguay, so they would finish above them in the group in those top 2 places. If it's a draw, I think Korea need to win by 2 goals. If Ghana win, then no matter what Korea do, they're out. So we're definitely not supporting them. We're hoping Luis Suarez can do some of his magic in that match, maybe again, and make himself the public enemy number 1 down in Ghana. When it comes to the games, we're going to have to be checking, because it could, the group's very tight. It could come down to goal difference. So whatever happens, we're going to have to keep an eye on that game.
Hopefully Korea will be finding the target for this match. And well, let's move with that in our minds. Let's move on to predictions. Michael, how do you see this one playing out?
I'm really not sure, to be honest, because we don't know what Portugal team's going to turn up. They've qualified, haven't they, really? So it depends what Portugal team lines up. But still, as Steve said, the depth in that squad, I still can't see Korea getting a result. I know 4 years ago, before my head is bitten off, we would beat Germany 2-0, but, that was a different Germany team. That was a side that wasn't kind of up for it. Portugal are up for it regardless of what team they field. So I'll be nice, and I'm going to say it'll be a 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. Oof. That will certainly upset a few people in Korea still, even if it isn't a loss. Steve, how do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I've just got kind of a nightmare vision of a similar thing happening as in the Ghana game, with Korea dominating and having plenty of chances, and then Portugal just having that one chance and that bit of quality and finding the back of the net. I'm hoping that Portugal have had that luck for the group stage of those 2 penalties I was talking about, and the kind of goalkeeper mishap where Ghana should have actually equalised and drew that game 3-3, but Iñaki Williams fell over just when it looks like he was about to ruin Cristiano Ronaldo's year. So I think I'm going to say, Portugal have used up their luck. Korea's going to win at 1-0. I'm being very, very optimistic, though.
Are you optimistic to also predict the Uruguay-Ghana result?
Yeah, because I think Uruguay's going to win that one, but just 1-0 as well.
Michael, Uruguay to win theirs?
I don't think Uruguay have been fantastic, to be honest, there. So I think it might end in a draw as well, or even Ghana take it. Now, people who have been to Korea and live in Korea know that there's a Ghana chocolate bar here in Korea. I'm just expecting them sales to plummet after this World Cup. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't really know. I feel it's a difficult one. Portugal. They have got the depth, as you said. I think. I'm going to be optimistic because why not? Why not? It's the last. It's the last game of the group stages. Who knows if this will be the last preview podcast of this World Cup? So let's say 2-1 to Korea. Cho Kyu-sung back on the score sheet a couple of times. Bernardo Silva for the Man City connection, getting the goal for Portugal, but claimed by Cristiano Ronaldo, who'll be sitting on the bench. Anyway.
I'm happy with
that. Yeah. Or Korea to win it and Ghana to win, and heartbreak all round. But we will find out this Friday night, Saturday midnight Korea time, and yes, it's going to be interesting for sure. But you'll be able to find our previews all on KLeagueUnited.com, all on KLeague.com. And lots of things as well going over at patreon.com/KLeagueUnited, where we have a number of editorials, all at the $3 a month tier. Lots of good things on there. Lots of good things coming this week. We can be found on social at K-League United. That's on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. So please look for us over there for updates throughout the rest of this World Cup. And yes, that's pretty much it from us this week. From Michael Redmond, Steve Price, and myself, Matthew Binns. Thanks so much for listening. Goodbye.
정조선 공공 폭격기 김신우